Kia ora, welcome back once again, everybody. We're here with the part four reaction to Mr. Phil Campion and the SAS Selection Jungle Training Series part 2. So let's jump in.
It's jungle time again. It's part 2 of the jungle. We're going to talk this time about what happens during the training phase of the jungle. So the way it's broken down, they're going to spend 3 weeks training, 3 weeks on exercise, más o menos, more or less, that means in Spanish, all right? So let's have a quick talk about where we got to get here, all right? We've been through the trees, aptitude. We've had a little bit of time in Hereford. We've had some training in and some acclimatization actually in Brunei, and now we've deployed and we're in the trees. We're tactical. The whole time you're in there, webbing and weapon goes everywhere. Okay, if you get stood to, you have to go to an ERV, and that is an absolute pain, I can tell you now. And if you mess up, you will be getting stood to. So,
just on that, the ERV, emergency RV or emergency rendezvous for people that may not be aware. But it's really cool listening to Big Phil speak about these. And what I wanted to mention is those that have been reaching out to me for advice and support on 2.2 and 2.1 and 2.3, I think, over in the UK as part of that UK SF. This is the guy you want to reach out to, or these are the videos that you want to watch and listen to and hear. And I think one of the supporters of my channel was kind enough to also put down Billy Billingham. I don't know either of these men, but I know of them, and I've seen some of their stuff on YouTube in the past. So I'll have to dig into some of Billy's stuff as well. But here's the people. For those that are in the UK, appreciate you reaching out. Like, I'll still connect with you and have a chat. You are right, there probably is some crossover, but like I said from the start, I haven't done the UK SF selection. So these are the people you want to be listening to and checking out. So anyway, let's jump back into Big Phil.
all these stuffs are now into play. I can tell you now that in the jungle, it rains every day, at least once, probably twice. And when it does, you get absolutely saturated. You've got to try and keep your wet kit on during the day and your dry kit at night and your dry kit dry, because otherwise you are going to suffer. All right?
I'm going to jump in on there because this part's really important. Yeah, that I hated the aspect, or that initial feeling, like love the bush, but that aspect when he's talking about, and it probably wasn't as bad like he's talking about, it rains every day or every night and it was just soaking wet. Yeah, you are wet, cold and hungry, but that changing of the clothing as and when you need to, because you don't want to be hopping into your dry kit or into your dry bag with wet kit, because then the rest of your time's just going to be miserable and you're probably going to become a liability to your team. So that changing out of your wet clothing into dry clothing, hopping in the bed in your dry bag or in your sleeping bag, hopefully it's still dry. Like, that part's cool. It's the getting up early in the morning and then changing out of your nice warm dry clothes, putting all that stuff away and putting on your wet cold clothes that haven't warmed up or anything. There's little things that we would try to do. You try to place it on your thermal mat in between on top of your thermal mat, in between your bivy bag and your sleeping bag, depending on how wet it was. If my clothes were pretty wet, I wouldn't do that because I didn't want it to soak through to my dry gear. So you just suck it up and put those wet items back on, and you do that as quietly as you can, because it can be uncomfortable at times. At least it was for me anyway. So listening to him speak about this, yeah, really important.
insects, mad insects everywhere, biting you, stinging you. There's hooks and claws on the trees. Everything in the jungle wants a bit of you. Everything wants you to not be passing the jungle. Everything wants you to go home. You do not belong in the jungle. You should not be there. And that's the way that nature looks at you, all right? So everything wants you out of there, okay? So you've got all these natural pressures. You've then got the sword of Damocles from the DS hanging over your head the whole time. They could bin you at a minute's notice. There you go, gone. You don't even know where they are half the time. They could be hiding in the trees just waiting for you to do something stupid, and then they'll just go, see you, off you go home, all right?
Ruthless. And it should be. I think he said the sword of Damocles. I don't know what that is. I'd have to look into it. I'm sure people will drop it in the comments, especially those that know and are much more educated and know their history than I do. But that's awesome to hear. I mean, that's part of the process, right? Like if you're not doing things right, and if you're not prepared to maintain that discipline, if you're not prepared to patrol the way that you should as a bare minimum, having both hands on the weapon, and then wherever you're looking, that's where your weapon's pointing. If you're not moving slowly, deliberately, with regards to your time in the bush, and you're blasé, or you don't appear to be concentrating or fully locked in on what you're supposed to be doing, then car keets, bro. See you later. Ta-ta. Yeah, so it's awesome that he's speaking about that, and that's, you know, pretty similar in my experience anyway, because you've got the DS everywhere in NZ and in Australia when you're doing the patrol procedures phase of the cycle. So you definitely want to be doing things as well as you can. I remember there's a guy in the Australian cycle at the time, Blue. He's a water operator from memory, solid unit. Didn't really say much. He didn't appear to me to say much. When he spoke with intent, and you needed to do what he said. So I got that. But I remember during our patrol procedures, he would just move himself around and then just plonk himself down different sides, be out on a flank, be up the front. We sometimes wouldn't see him till we were almost about to take a step, and he's like right there. So it's like, I remember I got walked into that situation at least once, where I was walking along, and then Blue was sitting down and then just staring at me, and I tried to remain pretty cool and calm, tried to pretend like, yeah, I knew he was there all along, but really I didn't. I just saw him there and tried not to act surprised, then come around and then looked, and I glanced down, I seen him, and then I just carried on, like nice and smooth, or tried to be smooth anyway, without trying to make it look like, oh crap, there he is, there, right there. So it's full on, it's intense. You are being scrutinized by everybody, or by all the staff, and so you should.
It's mad. It's crazy. So although they can't have a real enemy coming after you, the pressures that are put on you by having the DS watching you the whole time and having this threat of going home and failing is immense, enormous. You know, the fear of failure for me outweighs the fear of anything else sometimes. So although I got the feeling I was going to really enjoy the jungle, there was also this intrepidation thing going on the whole time, whereby you're thinking to yourself, wow, am I going to get through this? You know what I mean? Now, the rules of the jungle are simple. This is the rules of the jungle. It's monkey see, monkey do. And if monkey can't do, guess what? Monkey goes home, all right? That's it, Bust. Okay, so.
I love that. Yep. It's monkey see, monkey do. If monkey can't do, monkey gets sent home. Can't put it any simpler than that, any clearer than that for anybody that's considering wanting to do the UKSF. Man, come to this guy's channel, listen to him, and try to apply that. One of the things that stuck out for me when he spoke about the fear of failure sometimes trumps everything else for him. I can connect with that. For those that may not have done a SF selection or whatever, but I think anybody, you know, military or non-military, SF or non-SF, can probably in some way connect to that. And that's a real powerful driver. If you are that worried or concerned about failing, like I was worried and concerned about failing. I was never worried or concerned about quitting. I was never worried or concerned that I would remove myself from the course. But I was worried about failing because I didn't want to. So that there, for me anyway, and I'm assuming for Phil, you can grab a lot of strength from that. There's a lot of power, in my experience, there's a lot of power and drive and ability. I'll say ability as well, when you're worried about failing something that you just have your heart and mind set on. And if you can harness that somehow, and it's different for each person, I wish I could give you a blueprint and just articulate exactly what you need to do, but I can't. In those moments, you need to be able to adapt on the fly in that as well, because that's what will happen in operations. It's not all laid out piece by piece, step by step. Just like Jamie Pinau spoke about, the plan gets thrown out the window, and you've got to be able to improvise, adapt, and overcome. People may not like that comment, but it's true. It's real. And that's part of what they're looking for within the unit. So grab some strength from that fear, reframe it in your mind, try to harness it and embrace it as much as you can, and try to use it to your advantage to keep moving forward and hopefully successfully pass whatever it is that you're doing, not just UK SF selection, not just SF selection in general, but whatever it is, work, education, whatever.
Everything you're going to do, they're going to teach you. They're going to show you. They're going to explain it to you. They're going to demonstrate it to you. All you've got to do is imitate what they've done. It's the classic EDIP, isn't it? Explain, demonstrate, imitate, practice. All right. So you go through a series of exercises. Let's think, say, for instance, on navigation. They will show you how to navigation. They will take you out and navigate with you. They will show you navigation. They will take you out and navigate with you. They will then get to the stage where they think, right, he's good enough now. We'll let him out on his own. You will go out and you will do a NavX. We did a NavX where basically we went out and planted something. We came back. We wrote a patrol report. The other team went out, and you sort of like switch destinations. So you go and get someone else's kit, bring that back. They go and get your bit, and it all works off the patrol report. So everything has purpose to it. That first 3 weeks, everything you are going to need for the final exercise, you are shown, taught, and practiced in. Okay, absolutely everything. Whether it be a contact drill, whether it be the way you conduct yourself around the harbour area, whether it be navigation, the orders process, deliberate attacks, ambushes, everything you are likely to know. It's just soldiering. Now, I've often said this to people. There's no special soldiering. There's no sort of like swinging out of trees, and there's no sort of like black art to this stuff. It's basic soldiering, and it's done extremely well and to the letter.
Beautiful summary from Big Phil Campion. Basic soldiering done to an extremely high standard, high level, and done to the letter. To the letter by my interpretation of that, and what I tried to take in when I was going through those courses, is that what we're learning, and like he spoke about, it's explained to you, it's demonstrated to you, you'll go and imitate it, and then you'll go and practice. I think he used I've not heard the acronym until just now, EDIP. That's awesome. That's cool. So those things, everything's taught to you, like you're saying, and then grabbing that, taking that knowledge and information, and then applying it. Like everything he's saying is exactly what happened, at least in my view, in my opinion, in NZ and in Australia as well. The instructors are phenomenal. The badged operators with all that experience, it's presented to you because that's what they've learned. These are the lessons that they've learned over time, and no doubt they've developed and enhanced and improved even more now from my time when I was in. And that's a beautiful thing. So if you can have that ability to stay calm, stay focused, embrace and harness that fear that you might have, which is okay, but switch that to a positive and not overthink things too much. So trying to calm that mind of yours and not get so stuck in your head that you start overthinking and worrying about everything, and just do as like what Phil's talking about. Do what's been explained to you, the way it's been demonstrated. When you go out and imitate what you've seen the instructors do, then do it like that, and then practice that consistently. Your soldiering level and skill just becomes that much higher, at least in my experience anyway, and in my opinion, from what I observed. So I love the way Phil's articulated this really, 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 really well, better than the way I really spoke just then. Anyway.
And everything you have to do is shown and demonstrated first. So with those thoughts in mind, if you're of the right mindset and all the other stuff isn't affecting you and you can apply yourself, you should be able to get through the training phase relatively easily, okay? All right, because everything you're expected to do, you've already been shown and practiced. So by the end of that 3 weeks, everything you need to know to progress onto a live exercise, all those skills are in the bank. There's nothing that you'll be asked to do in that next 3 weeks that hasn't been covered in the first 3 weeks. All right. So I've heard guys say before, oh, they never showed me that, or I failed because I didn't know how to do that. No. No. It's not true, is it? It's not true. If anyone ever tells you a story like that, all right, they're a liar. I'll just throw that out there for you, all right? If anyone ever tells you that they weren't shown something, they were asked to do something they didn't know how to do on selection and they failed because of it, liar. You're a liar. All right, that's it. Bust. Okay, that's simple. So let's bash a few myths around before we finish this as well, all right?
Before he bashes the myths, I just reiterate what he's just saying there. The instructors, the people in the unit, at least in my experience, both in New Zealand and in Australia, they're genuinely giving everything they have within their power, within their experience, their knowledge base, their database, whatever you want to call it, their skill, their expertise. They're giving everything that they have. That was my perception anyway. They're giving all that knowledge, their time, their energy, their effort to help you as a candidate, or to help me as a candidate at the time on the cycle to be successful. They are investing a heck of a lot of time, effort, energy, and money into the training and development of individuals looking to go into that. Now, we're not going to start talking about budgets and all that sort of stuff. I don't know the numbers anyway. Obviously, New Zealand is a lot smaller. We don't have the budgets of other SF units. But man for man, skill for skill, ability for ability, and the list goes on. Like they're my humble opinion, they're up there with the best of them, even though I didn't have the privilege to serve within a squadron or get badged within the NZ group. Australia, the same. Tutu, Delta, DevGru, never worked with JTF2, but have only ever heard great things about them. And then you've got a whole bunch of other areas as well within the Defence Force. You don't have to be an SF operator to be at a very, very high level and or to have done remarkable things and or to have had an amazing career. That's not the defining point of anybody's career, in my opinion. I know many people that didn't serve in an SF unit that have had, in my opinion, much better careers than what I had in the military. So that's my 2 cents in there. Love how he's getting into busting a few myths. So we'll jump back into that. The piece around people saying, oh, they didn't teach me that. Yep. Bollocks is what I thought he was going to say. But yeah, they're liars. That's not the case. You have been shown, we have been shown, I have been shown what I need to do. If I've forgotten that, or if I've somehow tried to put that in a way that shifts the blame away from the responsibility and ownership that I'm supposed to take for that I should have taken and that I should have been more switched on, well, serves me right, serves you right if you're not going to be there. So yeah, bang on with what Big Phil's talking about. Let's get into the Mythbusters.
All right, so I personally felt really good about having that 3 weeks. And although there's a lot of hardships, the weather's always against you, I felt like I was soldiering properly. I felt I was learning stuff every day. And actually, for me, if I'm occupied, I'm busy, and I'm enjoying what I do, it doesn't feel like work at all. The hardship is outweighed by the fact that I was actually enjoying what I was doing, okay? And that's very important. And I think you could probably bluff for a week. You might be able to extend that bluff into 2 weeks. There's no chance you're bluffing by the time it gets to 3 weeks, all right? If you really can't cope, if you really can't handle it, you're going to get a tap on the shoulder and you're going to get asked to go home, all right? And that's it, simple, all right? So that will be identified. And you can't, that's the way, that's why selection is structured how it is. So that you can't hide away, so that you can't sort of like bluff your way, bluff your ticket. Once you're in the jungle, you are under intense pressure the whole time. And that first 3 weeks in particular, whilst you're training, even writing your patrol reports, you've got to hand these pristine troll reports in that you've written under a basher where you haven't had a proper wash for the entirety of the time you've been in there. It's a minging, stinking environment, literally right in the patrol club with medics gloves on, with a face mask to stop me breathing over the stuff and dropping water on it, almost done at arm's length so that I don't drip anything on it. It was extremely tough. And that sort of stuff after a while is the sort of stuff that breaks you down. The soldiering side of it, if you're in the army and you enjoy soldiering, then, who wouldn't want to go on the range with the SAS? Do you know what I mean? Who wouldn't want to be shooting guns and tearing around and doing all this cool alley stuff? Do you know what I mean?
I love what he's shared there and spoken about. Like, if you don't love the bush or the jungle, if you can't find a way to embrace that and just understand that there are aspects that people don't like. One thing that he spoke about, everything's in there, all the insects, the bugs and things trying to kill you, hooks on everything, on all the branches and trees. You know, the New Zealand native bush, like, I loved it. It was it was pretty cool to me. Like, I still love it to this day. I think it's great. We are very different to Australia. We don't have all the things that want to bite, sting and scratch and kill you in our environment. But it was still very challenging, still very difficult, still very hard, at least for me anyway. As a young fella going through that period of time as a 21-year-old, just taking everything in, having the opportunity to take it all in. And I think that's another important point that I think Phil has expressed really well, articulated really well. Go in with your eyes wide open. Like, I saw sergeants on my cycle, officers, NCOs with many, many years of experience. They spent time in Singapore. They've been out in the jungles and bush and that in Malaysia. You know, their experience and skill and ability was far above anything that I could have ever hoped to have had by that stage, and probably even after. But if you can go in with your eyes wide open, regardless of what experience you have from other areas, it's going to set you in good stead. If you come in and if you go into it thinking, oh, I've done this, or yeah, I know how to do this, or this is how I do it, and you look to start doing things the way it hasn't been shown to you on the course, you're going to struggle and you're going to stand out for the wrong reasons. Okay, so that, I guess, that humility piece in and around experienced soldiers coming in is really important, because, yep, acknowledging you've got a heck of a lot of experience, but man, you're in a different environment now. When in Rome, here's the time to do here's how the instructors want you to do it. So take that, apply it, and then go out and practice that and do it over and over again till it becomes second nature. The parts that he's talking about when you're in the basher or underneath your hoochie, you know, it's wet, you're miserable, your hands are wet. If you haven't got a waterproof notebook, that can make it very challenging. Especially when he's talking about trying to at arm's length to write so you don't drip anything on it and ruin your patrol report, because those are really important. The other thing that stuck out for me, there was a piece there where I was the SIG in the New Zealand one, so responsible for the comms. You've got all these other aspects about how to tactically set up your antennas to be able to get that. The use of a dipole was the main sort of antenna that I would use to set up in order to get the comms to where it needed to get to. And then at that time we're also using I think it might have been, don't quote me on, I think it might have been called a 319 radio data burst setup. Had the code books where you're needing to do those and punch those in, the ability to send Morse code and that through that as well. And so we would do that, and then when you go back to the headquarters after the patrol and you're getting your debriefs, even after the little mini patrols, you're getting the feedback from the SIGs that are back there that are attached to the unit. And man, the amount of mistakes that went through that I made when I'm trying to send through the messages was a real important learning for me to try to get better at that and make sure that I try to be more deliberate. So all these things just really build up. That's just like a small fraction, and you can see Phil's mind going through a whole bunch of stuff, trying to recall a whole bunch of information, which is there, but he's doing it on the spot. So there is a heck of a lot going on out in the bush in the patrol procedures phase, and you either love it or you won't. And like he said, you can't. I've never met anybody that's been able to bluff their way through the jungle phase. It's just, if there is somebody, maybe they come out later and they'll say that they did. But if you don't love the bush, then my humble opinion, you shouldn't be in the unit. That's my take anyway.
But you've got to accept that on the flip side of that coin, it's extremely difficult and extremely tough to operate in the jungle, and that's what gets to people. So that first 3 weeks, for me, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But I did see other people go through absolute misery. And, you know, a lot of people, oh, I'm injured. I'm going to have to go because my ankle's hurting. I think there was probably a little bit more than the ankle hurting. I think there might have been a sort of like little thing at the back of their mind saying, this isn't for you. This ain't for you. This is not where you want to be. All right. So anyway, I'm not going to diss anybody on here, but, you know, I did notice a couple of people that, you know, threw the towel in by, Oh, my ankle's hurting. Everybody's ankle's hurting. Everybody's going through hardship. Everybody's not getting enough sleep and all the rest of the stuff. But yeah, you can tell. Do you know what I mean?
Perfect, eh? Like, that's, I don't need to say anything else. I just wanted to pause and acknowledge that and give it a thumbs up. Everything that he's saying. Everybody's hurting, everybody's sore. So bloody crack on, bro.
You can tell. And at the end of that 3 weeks, you know, if you are bluffing it, there's a good chance you're going to get caught out in the next 3 anyway. So you got no chance. Right. That said, we'll move on to the next 3 weeks next time. I hope you enjoyed this one. We're going to go back to the jungle next time I do it.
Love that one, Phil. Thank you very much for sharing your insights, your experience, knowledge, skill, competency, obviously all of that comes with it, his expertise. But also, I don't know the man, but for sharing your personality, your humor, it really comes through. It makes me laugh and smile because you bring back a heck of a lot of really good memories from my time on the New Zealand cycle and the Australian cycle, and that as well during those particular courses. I know this is all part of the UKSF selection process. They're 6 months long, so this is awesome learning for me, and it's great to get an insight into the UKSF selection process for 22 SAS or SBS. So hopefully it helps anybody else that's coming along here. My 2 cents or my reaction or my comments, maybe it might be more applicable for those for NZ and Australia. And as I've mentioned, those that have reached out and I've met with a number of those that have been reaching out reference to UKSF. Not a heck of a lot by any means, but have appreciated those interactions. So I've directed them verbally in those, but if there's anybody that has been following my channel from that area that wants to join the UKSF, I 100% I'm happy to speak with you if you want, but again, I just make the statement, make it really, really clear. I have not done the UKSF. I know some bits and pieces about it from people that have done it, and I've asked questions and they've been kind enough to share some of those answers. There's been quite a few of the Kiwi lads that have done and completed successfully passed and been badged in the UK in 22 SAS. So, but I haven't done it, so I don't want to be giving information second, third, fourth hand, Here's the guy to get your information from. Soak up his knowledge and experience, take that and run with it, and then apply the pieces as you need to, and be honest with yourself and crack on. Okay, so thank you very much for your time once again, everybody. Appreciate you all. Just very, very appreciative. Thank you all very much. Any challenges or trials that anybody may be going through out there, I understand it's difficult. Things might look all peaches and roses on a camera. Believe me, they're not. I don't mind sharing that. I don't need to go into the details, but believe me, they're not. Everybody is having their struggles, their challenges, their difficulties, me included. Okay, so we can choose. We have the option. We can choose to stay positive, to stay upbeat, and to find another way to keep taking that next step forward. It's not always easy. In fact, a heck of a lot of the time, it's very, very difficult. But if we can switch this up here and spend a bit of time here in ourselves and thinking outwardly, at least for me and my experience, it's been very, very helpful. And it's enabled me to be able to try to stay as positive as I can and hopefully positively impact somebody else. So keep taking one step forward at a time. Better days are ahead. The sun will shine again. Keep turning up. Stay in the fight. Remember, go always a little further. And who dares wins. And as always, a big one away from me to you. Thank you once again. Until the next video.